and we're better served actually with maintaining some of the escalators. Yes?
So if I want to go to the basement, go to a conference, and I'm on the 5th floor or whatever floor it is, can you go all the way on one elevator?
On one elevator, yes. All of the elevators go from the basement to the 5th floor, so all elevators work.
And the 4th, and the 3rd,
Yep.
and the 2nd, and all of this.
All elevators work. I don't know who had mentioned to you that they don't.
But if you go in on the Skyway level, is the elevator accessible there?
Yes.
Okay, so you're just not putting in an additional elevator versus
Taking out the escalators.
Charlie? Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rettman, maybe a little more explanation about the elevators. When we did our due diligence report, we looked at them. That's an in-house report. We used some consultants. When we got into the project, the due diligence report, by the way, was when we were considering whether we wanted to purchase or not. And we looked at it, and at the time, we had heard that from the escalators, the age of them, that they could not be repaired. There was no longer parts for them, and yes, they do consume quite a bit of energy. We found out after we got into the design that, yes, there are parts for them, and they can be maintained. They move people the most efficiently, and by keeping certain escalators, this will work very grand. Now, the building, when it was built, did not have an escalator to the 5th floor. It stopped on the 4th. That was the highest it went. So we're not putting one in there, but there's a bank of 3 elevators. And all 3 elevators are being modernized to today's present code. So they're all going to be redone from an elevator perspective. But the thought was to keep the Skyway level, the 1st floor, and the 3rd floor with the escalators, because you can move the greatest amount of people with the most amount of efficiency. We talked about removing the escalator from the 1st floor to the basement for security reasons. Almost the whole program down in the basement area is programmed more for county use. That's where the big conference rooms are. That's where we might have space for health promotions and stuff like that. So to wrap it up, we have 3 fully modernized elevators that are going into the project and are fully funded. And we have the money to go over the existing escalators we're going to keep and continue to have them function.
Okay, Mr. Chair, and I won't belabor this, but if you are going from the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, or 4th, and you want to go to the lower level, you have to get off the escalator, go to an elevator to go down to the conference area. That's also where the break room is, correct? And you're not allowing, break rooms on, like with...
All 3 elevators service all 5 floors, including the basement, the 6th floor. The elevators service everything. The escalators do not.
Okay. And one of the hallmarks that you were wanting to achieve on this when we originally had the documentation of due diligence as well as the design bill was that you would be able to pick up more space with those gone and energy. And I just can't imagine that a rebuilt escalator is not going to use more energy than a elevator.
As it turned out, the escalators do consume more energy than a standard elevator, not so much in the lifting of its load, but it's got more of a continuous motion to it rather than a stop-start. That was weighed against having to cut shafts through the entire center of the building to create the new elevators would have not been in the same area as the 3 existing ones. They'd have been down more towards the other end of the building. So all of that was considered very greatly, and we've got just, in my opinion, just a wonderful plan. We're going to be able to move people. It's going to be efficient. Everything's going to be upgraded, and the flow through the building is going to work, Commissioner, very well.
John, there's no escalator then to the basement.
Correct me, Jay. I think we removed the escalator to the basement.
Right. If that's where you're having your conference rooms and the greatest number of people moving at one time, wouldn't it be more efficient to have an escalator down there because people come out of a conference usually in, I'll say, bulk and in large numbers, and you've got a continual operation with an escalator versus having 10, 12 people on an elevator and probably going up and then having to go all the way to the 5th floor before it comes back down. Even though you have 3 of them, that's 45 people, and an escalator can handle a lot more than that.
Escalators definitely move people quicker. Commissioner Ortega, Commissioner Bennett. The issue isn't always just one thing as we look at it. One of the bigger concerns that we have in that building is security. And if you look at the use for the lower level, from a security position, escalators cannot be secured. Even when they're turned off, you can actively walk down them. We did not want that to take place in the lower level. We recognize that the Skyway, it makes sense, and we're taking precautions within the 2nd floor, within the 1st floor, and within the 3rd floor, that the areas our offices are secured, but there's an open passageway. By blocking off the lower one and keeping that in balance with all of the needs of the building, it's the right thing to do not to have it down there.
And as it sits right now, there is only one escalator
That didn't have
that
it
goes
down.
to the
You don't
1st.
have it down.
Yeah, it only goes down, it doesn't come up. So, but there is a staircase for people who want to use the stairs.
Why would, down is easy, it's up that's hard.
Can I
Yes.
have any other questions? Second. The 3rd floor is there's some vacancy up there, but mostly it's state tenants. The 4th floor is the front door of the county attorney. This would be the space that people come to for conferences, depositions, those kinds of things. And most of the lawyers then are up on 5, and they would be brought down or come down here for those types of meetings. But the actual front door of the county attorney would be there in the blue section shown on 4. And then 5, the county attorney takes over the rest of the 5th floor. There are public ways, that's why you see that not everything is shown in blue, but the county attorney fits in this contiguous space with the record storage attached on that floor. Those are their active record storage. They have inactive records that'll be pulled from in the basement. They have a large space in the basement that they'll use their own staff to be pulling records. But this is the area of active files. Any questions there on the upper parts of the building? Right now, this is the exciting part, because after months and months of getting ready and creating the drawings, we're actually ready to get contractors involved. In September, we issued the elevators and escalator packages, because oddly enough, those take a long time, and the sooner we could use them as part of construction, the better. We're installing a brand new freight elevator in the project, so the sooner we could get that going, the better. And those aren't something that necessarily needs to sit under a general contractor, so we have already issued that. Bid package 2 will be all the system upgrades, mechanical, electrical, and so on, as well as what we call the TIs, the tenant improvements. Bid package, and that goes out this month. Next month, it'll be followed by bid package 3, which is all the technology and wiring systems, vertical wiring, horizontal wiring through the building. And then bid package 4, which will come out in December, will be the amount of furnishings that we'll have to purchase. And we're working on plans to reuse much of our furniture, but obviously we're going to have to purchase some, and then that purchase amount would be out in December. Those will be the 4 major bid packages of the project. By far, bid package 2 is the largest of them. Bid package 1 and 3 are similar in size and smaller. Sustainability, to Commissioner Carter's point before, we have a design, during our design process, we have recycled space, we have the bike storage, we are using district energy for cooling the building now, we'll continue to do that. We're even looking at possible heating options for that. That's still under contract negotiation. Reuse of county-owned building materials, We have a person on staff who's been working with all of those 9 groups to canvass and record all the things that we already own that would be worthy of being moved, that still work, that are still functional, and we're looking at it holistically so that people don't move specifically with their things, but that we look at it as the entire budget. So if we find a good table that needs to move, we might be able to put it in more of a public space or in a shared space, not necessarily with that particular department. And those conversations will get up and running later this month. The week of the 25th, we have our first round of furniture discussion. And then our specifications, it's kind of current practice in the industry as well as supported by our department on the board that we use sustainable building things that are in our specifications. So buying things locally, having low VOC materials, which is volatile organic compound, high recycled contents, sustainability of the demolition, which we talked about. We benefit from partnering with our solid waste management, and anything that can be recycled, they help pay for the dumpsters. So it's kind of like a nice little underwriting of the process.
For the recycling.
Yes, regular construction waste, they still make us pay for, so, but it's less. And it's surprisingly how much less.
And, Mr. Chair, I think that is a really good point. A lot of people don't recognize just how much is saved. Not only in the fact that obviously something doesn't have to be remanufactured because you're recycling or manufactured from virgin materials, but the cost to us in deconstruction and recycling is significantly less, so it's a cost savings to us as well.
It's a separate project, but the Roseville Library project, we recycled 97% of everything that we brought out of the building, 97%. So that's a winning percentage. Yes. Inclusiveness in contracting for this project, the SB participation goals have been set for 15%. That's on all of those bid packages. And then the actual hours worked in the field, that's the workforce utilization that we use, is 5% women and 15% minority. And then just a brief review of the schedule. As I've already mentioned, bid package 1 and 2 are out effectively. Tomorrow afternoon they're doing a printing of bid package 2 for me to review. Bid package 3 is coming in November, bid package 4 in December. Realistically, our first on-site construction will start in January. And then our first phase of moves will be in June of next year. We have kind of 2 major move dates, which we still have to have the major general contractor confirm, but we're looking at June, and then everybody out by October this time next year. Any other questions?
Any questions?
Thank you so very much for your time.
Well, thank you to the staff for a great job. You've done a nice job. Any other questions? We're adjourned.
Good update.
the Legislative Committee of the Whole to order. And today is the day that, well, first of all, we'll start with the minutes of the February 9th meeting, which was the last time that we got together, February 9th, 2010. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, today is the day